guys, welcome back to my channel. I've got a bit of a different video for you all today. I have been thinking for some time of doing maybe like monthly wrap-up videos. Not really sure if you guys are interested in it. So if you don't like this, please let me know and I won't do any more of them. If you do like it and you want them to continue, also let me know and tell me what you think I could do better, because I've never done this kind of thing before. I do have a reading journal that I write like a couple of little bits and pieces down in, like my thoughts and stuff on the books, how many books I've read, and yeah, so just feedback, advice, whether you like it, if you don't like it, whether you'd like to see more, if you don't want to see more, let me know. And yeah, so I'm gonna start off with my wrap up for September. It was a pretty good month. Not as great as I would have liked, considering the size of my book stack that you can see in the background. I read a total of 10 books, just because my weekends are a little busier than normal. Football season's back on, so I haven't got as much time to read because I go up every other weekend to watch matches. And my evenings are a little bit busier as well. I have, however, given up Japanese, so I should be being able to spend some more time when I'm not doing things at the weekend, to focus on that and reading. So yeah, I started September with 11 books on my book stack. It then grew to a pile of 22 books. So I doubled the amount. I read 10, so I'm technically worse off than when I started the month in terms of the amount of books I've got to read. But here we go. That's I have a problem. What can I say? I buy books too much. But yeah, so the first book that I read is Voidwalker, which is by S.A. McLean. I've got my notes on my iPad. So I apologize if I keep glancing down. I will get better with this. I should probably memorize my notes, but I have a terrible memory. So Voidwalker is by S.A. McLean. I was really looking forward to this book. I'd seen it hyped quite a bit online. I followed the author from the previous book that I read, which was Phoenix Keeper, which was amazing. And I was very lucky enough to, because I'm subscribed to Illumicrate, as you guys have probably seen and watched the previous unboxing. Pretty much a lot of these are special editions that I have unboxed on my channel. And yeah, I was really looking forward to it. I'd seen it hyped quite a lot. She was talking about it quite a lot on her Insta posts. And basically we have not quite an enemies to lovers, but sort of. I guess it is the closest trope that you can kind of have. We've got like a person in power. The way that the world works is it's not run very great. And the main heroine kind of ends up, through various reasons, meeting him. They are forced to be in close proximity to each other because she agrees to help him to claim his throne back, so that he can improve things for the population, like the human population. And then from that they slowly develop feelings. Yeah, so it was a really good book. I'm looking forward to the second one, because she has S.A. McLean has confirmed that there is going to be a second one. But I think main character Fee, she had a lot of growth within the book. She had these prejudices against Antal and his race, and through getting to know him, they kind of get over that. And I think that's a lot of character growth. She's been raised a particular way. She spent her whole life feeling like that. It was kind of a slow burn, but it is a big enough book and a lot happens. It doesn't feel like a slow burn. It feels adequately paced, I think, for the size of the book. So yeah, it was really, really good. The characters in it were really fun. I have hiccups now. The characters were really fun to read. But one of my main things I loved about Fee is that she never gave up her like wit and her sarcasm. Even though she was scared of Anton when she first meets him, she just carries on like she always has. She kind of bolstered her fear with like her attitude, and I thought she was just great as a main character. I really, really enjoyed the book. I gave it 4 out of 5. Just because there was a couple little times where she annoyed me a little bit. And that's kind of the same so I've got a lot of 4 out of 5s this month and only 1 5 out of 5. And there's just a couple of little things that always kind of annoy me with some of the main characters. but I suppose every main character does have to have a flaw, and you know, it helps them grow. So really enjoyed Void Walker. I would recommend. It's fantasy / sci-fi. I felt very good romance. I think it's classed as an adult romance. It's always really hard to tell with William McCrae because they mix everything in into one box. And I'm pretty sure monster romance as well. Maybe I'm just saying that because of what Antal is, but we'll see. Do recommend it though. Next on my list was a book that I knew I was going to be receiving in a book box, and one that I was dreading receiving in a book box. And I've had loads of comments on the unboxing video to say, oh, give it a try, because it was Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. And for those of you who know me and have read my book blog and watched my previous videos, I didn't get on with Babel. I really did not like Babel by this author, and it kind of put me off of reading anything from her again. So when I realised that we were getting Catabasis, I was like, oh no, I really don't think I want to read this. Babel was so bad. This one's meant to be like more academia based as well, like dark academia, I feel like. And so it came. I read it because I will read every book that I've been given. Like, if I don't like them, I won't pick up any more in the series. But I refuse to not finish a book. I have hate read some books in my time, and I really thought this was going to be another one. I was actually really pleasantly surprised, and I thought it was going to be my lowest rated book. But like I said, it is a month of 4 stars, so this one actually still got a 4-star out of me. It is, again, you've got like academic rivals, and they journey to hell together to save their teacher that has passed away, and has moved on to the afterlife, because obviously magic is rife in this world and they can explore hell. You've got like Dante and Virgil mentioned in here as like real people that went to hell, like previous, like the early scholars of this kind of field, if you will. So our main character Alice and our other male interest Peter, they go down into hell, and it's them basically working through the different layers of hell to try and get to Professor Grimes to bring him back, working through their differences. And yeah, again, so it is rivals to lovers, and very well done. I wanted more of Archimedes the cat. We didn't get more of Archimedes the cat, but I am a sucker for animal psychics, which you'll see a little bit later on. So yes, fantasy, dark academia, romance. I don't think you can really class it as historical fiction. Quite kind of mythology as well, I guess. But yeah, it was really interesting. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. The journey through hell was more interesting than the characters themselves. I thought the characters were a little bit kind of like they didn't grip me as much as some of the main characters in the other books. Like, I wasn't invested in them. I didn't sit there and find myself being like, yeah, oh my god, get together, I can't wait for this. It was like okay, like it again, kind of forced proximity of them confessing their feelings. The chapters that we get where we look into the sort of prior to this event, where you get like flashbacks of when they met and various other instances in the past. I'm trying not to spoil too much. Sometimes they were more interesting than what was happening in the present of the book. But the characters for me just weren't as interesting. I think if it wasn't for the fact that the setting was that they are going through hell to try and rescue someone, being chased by various things and encountering various different things, I think I probably would have given it a lower rating. But just because of the nature of having to trek through hell to save someone, because I found that gave it a higher rating overall. It like took away from the fact that the characters weren't the best written characters, but still really enjoyed it, more than I thought I was going to, which had me really surprised, which is great. So the next book that I read was House of Blight. I think it's marked down as romance, kind of gothic and fantasy romance. Fae-ish, kind of, but not quite. it's again kind of hidden powers tropes. It's the first one that I feel like I've had for a while. I know we went through a phase of where a lot of young adult and adult fantasies where this girl has secret power, must hide power, guy that's from bad family finds out and tries to help, or like takes her away or tries to help, and or it's like a main character. Yeah, so it was interesting. I thought this was heading for a typical love triangle romance. Didn't pleasantly surprise me. Was very, very happy with how it ended. No one gets the girl. Really fun. Love it when we get books like that, because she's strong and independent and she does things to help this family. So she basically has these powers that can heal people, but she keeps it a secret because there are these immortals. Can't read my own handwriting. I think they're called the Evers because they're like ever living. And this particular family called the Ferngloves, they take any thread menders, which is what these magical healers are called, away. And they basically discover her, so they take her back to their house, and while she's with them, she just uncovers a bigger plot and a bigger mystery. Again, I'm not going to go into spoilers because I think you guys should read all of the books that I'm going to talk about today. So the longer she stays with him, the more she realizes is actually that there's more going on, and that she's got to work with them to try and find a cure for the blight that is going around killing everything. So it affects like the land, the animals, the humans die really quickly from it. So she works with these immortals to try and find out, and then loads of different things ensue. And it gets really, like, it's kind of slow and a little bit boring at the start, but then halfway through the book it picks up and I was hooked. I couldn't put it down. I was like, I needed to know what happened next. Like, I think after the first 100 pages or so, I was like, no, I have to binge read this immediately. This is so good. I'm enjoying it so much. And yeah, Yuena the moth stole the show for me. Again, as you can tell, I love animal sidekicks and things. Yuena doesn't even speak. She's just a moth that does various little actions and movements, which the main character takes as her sassing people. And I'm like, I love this. I love having a sassy moth. I never thought I would need a book in where a moth that could not speak sassed people, and like, she was a magical moth, so she had like little electrical currents in her antennas, so when something happened that she didn't like, she just kind of zapped them, and I loved it. And I loved the way that it ends with Yuena and Effie. So yeah, I thought it was a really good ending. I'm not really sure if this is going to be a series. It's kind of left open in that it wraps up quite nicely, but also it could go on to be more. It was a Page and Wick book, and they do have a habit of sometimes doing books that have series that already have like a full release, or are well into their releases. So I haven't actually looked it up. I probably should, but there may be more to it. But yeah, really enjoyed this one more than I thought I would again. So again, 4 out of 5 stars. And then my next book was A Theory in Drowning by Ava Reid. Oh, I didn't say the House of Blight was by Maxime M. Martineau. And then, so my next book was The Theory of Dreaming by Ava Reid. Enjoyed it. I was really, really looking forward to it. And you know, when you're looking forward to a book and then it kind of just is a bit not quite as good as you were expecting, it leaves you kind of wanting more. I felt like A Theory of Dreaming, which is the sequel to A Study of Drowning, was a little bit of a carbon copy. Like, you had Effie, just trying to process the words. So you had Effie and Preston. It's basically set after, so in the first book, they bring some information to light about this, about Mirrodin Emrys, who was this author. He became one of the 7 sleeping saints. That basically he didn't write his best work, which was Angarad. His daughter Angarad wrote it herself, and they were doing a thesis on it. There was some weird shit going on with the Fairy King, which they defeated, who was possessing Meriden's son, I think. They defeated him, the house sunk down into the waves, and then this book is dealing with the aftermath of that, but also a bit of a carbon copy with it, because Effie then gets put into the literary college, which is what she always wanted to do, but when she's given like an option to find an assignment, she goes straight for another author, and as she's researching that author, she's like, oh, I think maybe his daughter might have written this poem. So she does the same thing, even though she has become public enemy number one, and then she doesn't really cope very well with it. This book, to my knowledge, it may have done, but I can't remember it clearly, there isn't a trigger warning. One of a character within the book attempts to commit suicide because they can't cope with what's going on. So I do reckon it was a good way to tie up the first book. If you're not great with depictions of suicide in books, I would probably steer clear of it. The way a study of drowning finished, I think it could have been left where it was. It didn't really need to continue the way that it did. You have Preston and Effie are both clearly going through stuff. They're both upset about something. They're both struggling with things, and each other realizes that the other one is struggling with things, but they don't sit and talk about it. And they kind of mope about like, oh, he's going to leave me, she's going to leave me. And it's like, they don't sit there and talk, because then he doesn't know all the pressures that she's going through. She doesn't know the weird dream stuff that he's going through. And yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. Effie also gets essentially bullied a little bit, like by media and other people, to try and like give her a tale of like how they discovered this. And the university don't really want anything to do with her because they're like, she's potentially bringing bad publicity to us. So she's kind of left on her own apart from one friend. And then right at the end of it, Angarad herself gets involved, and I'm like, you could have solved all of this by coming out right at the start, because a good few months have passed over the process of the novel. It was a bit of a weird one. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I still gave it 4 out of 5 because it was interesting, but especially the stuff where Effie was researching into this new author that was quite renowned, and this was one of his greatest works. She was struggling with the aftermath of Mirrodin and Angarad. Why would you do the exact same thing? Like, if you couldn't cope with this, why would you do it again? And then why would Angarad come out right at the end of the book to be like, oh yeah, this is what happened. You should believe Effie. Like, you should have done this a lot earlier. You shouldn't have like taken the events that led up to that to do it. I don't think any of the characters really had that much growth, other than they sort of realised at the end that their own problems were better off being like talked about and working through together, which I feel like they should have kind of learned that lesson from the first book, but maybe that's just me. But it is what it is. We then had The Mistress of Bones, which I thought was a really, really good book. It kind of gave me like RPG D&D vibes a little bit. Not loads, but kind of. So you had so you have your main character. She is a necromancer. She didn't really know that there was a name for it. She just one day discovered that if she buries a bone in the soil, it brings that thing back to life. She accidentally did it with some pets. And this book is about her trying to get her sister back. Her sister has passed away, and she's trying to get to her bones to revive her. But the Lord Death has sent an emissary to her to stop her, because she is essentially an abomination. She shouldn't really have this power over death. They're kind of drawn together into like a chase, like a kind of a game really, like where the emissary is always a couple of steps ahead of her, and she thinks that she's ahead of him. It's kind of a good old typical cat and mouse. And they end up in the capital city. She goes to find her sister's bones because she realizes that's where all the bones are being kept. It kind of, I thought it was going to be a bit of a romance. We didn't get that at all. What we got was substantially more interesting. It is down, I think, I want to say either Waterstones or Goodread, it's down as a romantasy and a romantic fantasy. It's not. They sort of are intrigued by each other. Towards the end, they're kind of like, I want to spend more time with them, but I'm not quite sure how I feel. And then the events right at the end of the book is kind of like, okay, well, that sort of kills off the possibility of a romance right now. I know it's going to be a series, so we're probably going to get more the potential of maybe a romance later down the line, but I'm not really sure. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but it's just quite not possible at this moment, so I don't know why it's marketed as a romance and a romantasy on Goodreads. I'm pretty sure it is. It was still good though. I absolutely loved that Azul was just unabashedly herself. When she was imprisoned because her sister just burst into a cloud of dust and that's why she wants to get to her bones. When she was in prison, she didn't really hold anything back. She continued to just be herself, be sarcastic. She was a little bit arrogant, I felt, at times with the Emissary of Death, whose name has escaped me. But yeah, it was just, the interactions between them was great, and it was good that she didn't have to pretend to be someone else with him. He knew what she was from the start. He'd even called her an abomination several times, but they still warmed to each other. They still found each other interesting, and there was a pull there. And she didn't have to change for him. She didn't really need to go through growth. It was nice that she had this power and she wasn't out there to, like, you know, she wasn't trying to keep it hidden intentionally. She just didn't think that it was anything that anyone really needed to know about, because she only ever used it for, like, her sister, or she wanted to use it for her sister. She wasn't trying to raise armies of the dead like some of the other necromancers in the wild. So it was just nice seeing that her motivation was for her sister, not like for power or for money or anything like that. It wasn't like some of the other hidden power tropes that we've got, where they've got to keep it hidden but they'll still use it to earn money because they're destitute and poor and they need the money, and that's how they get discovered. So that was pretty cool, I thought. So the next two books were, I think, technically children's books. I'm pretty sure, because they were the sequels to Howl's Moving Castle, which was Castle in the Air and The House of Many Ways. I loved them. I thought they were great. I think sometimes you just need to. They're classics. They books are by Diana Wynne Jones. Not many people know that Howl's Moving Castle had sequels. I was under the impression that they were sequels in the sense that they were sort of set in the same world, that the characters didn't feature heavily in them, but actually Sophie and Howl do make an appearance, but your main characters are very different. So you have Abdullah in Castle in the Sky. He basically comes across a magic carpet, which sets off a chain of events because he meets a princess who then gets taken by a djinn, and it's his adventure to go and get her back, and some of the misfortunes before him and how he ends up getting out of it. He ends up with a genie bottle, and he ends up with a black cat and someone else to help him, and then it's their journey getting to the castle in the sky, getting the princesses back, and Hal and Sophie do appear in it. They don't get sidelined in the universe, which is amazing. It's set quite some time after Howl's Moving Castle. Sophie has a kid, and I loved that in these kind of fantasies, you kind of see the woman get a little bit put by the wayside because she's had a kid, and then it either focuses on the dad and the kid or the kid in general. Sophie is still a very active part of the plots in both books, and it's really nice that Hal just sort of leaves her to her own thing. He's like, yeah, you've got this kid, but you do what you want. And sometimes the kid's there as well. It was really good. I enjoyed, I really enjoyed the aspect of Sophie, like having a child, but still being very active and being involved right up until the end, and like being one of the key reasons that their schemes to escape right at the end succeed. And she's very much involved as well in House of Many Ways. Howl is there to some extent in both books, but he's in disguise in both of them. Well, in the first one he was changed by someone else, in the second one he was in disguise, and you don't realize it's him until right at the end, until Sophie's like, what are you doing? The second one, House of Many Ways, is with Charmaine and Peter, I want to say. Yes, Peter. Charmaine and Peter. There's a very powerful uncle, William. He is it William? William Norland? Yes, great Uncle William, but Grand Wizard Norland. She goes to his house to like look after the house basically, whilst he's unwell, being treated by the elves, and just a bunch of magical shenanigans ensue, and Charmaine ends up going down this whole roller coaster of she has written to the king previously. She didn't want to go and house it. She had written to the king previously to ask if she could help out at his library. He says yes. So while she's doing that and also looking after the house, it just unravels into this chaos. She ends up embroiled in something that she had no idea she was going to get involved with, which again is kind of fueled by Sophie and Hal. They are helping the king to investigate stuff, and Charmaine gets involved, all the whilst trying to keep Peter out of trouble, because Peter wants to learn magic but is not great at magic, whereas Charmaine is not allowed to learn magic because her mother doesn't want her to, but seems to have a natural affinity to it. So it's kind of fun seeing all of the interactions between Charmaine and Peter. She's kind of mean to him. I didn't really like that aspect of it. She was not the nicest, and he didn't really do anything wrong other than just being a little bit clumsy and a little bit like away with the fairies at times. He tried his best. Like, there's a chapter where she's so mean to him because she doesn't know how to cook, and he like uses magic to summon ingredients and put them in a pot, but he doesn't chop them up or anything, and she's just internally moaning about him and the food. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, you didn't really have any better ideas. Like, he's tried, you were just gonna sit there and eat cream tea. So that annoyed me a little bit. They weren't 5-star reads for me. I think just because, I don't know, they didn't grip me as much as Howl's Moving Castle did. They were still fun, still relatively lighthearted, still a pretty quick read. But yeah, they were still 4 out of 5. Enjoyable. If you want something lighthearted and you don't mind reading a kid's book, I definitely recommend them and Howl's. They are great books, to be honest with you. So I don't think they really matter too much that they're a kid's book. My next book is Uncharmed by Lucy Jane Wood. This is my 5-star book of the month. 5 out of 5. I loved Rewitched and I love Uncharmed. I knew going into September when I was getting this book, like, that it was probably going to be the book of my month anyway, just because of how much I loved Rewitched. It was a cute, cozy autumn fantasy. I absolutely loved everything about it, but I knew I was going to. So we have got your perfect character. She is a witch. Her name is Annie. And she is perfect basically in every single way. She runs a bakery. She's part of like this high society group of witches. She's got an apprenticeship with Hecate House. Everything's going really, really well for her. And then she is asked to help train a 15-year-old. So in this world, 15-year-old like witches come into their power at 15, and they have to train, get it all under control. And then they go through their darkening, which is getting their training and their approval to use their powers. And Annie is asked to go and train her. Maeve is great. She's a little firecracker. She wants to use the magic. She doesn't like the people that she's with. She's very like hot to Annie's like calm and collected and coolness. And the two of them work really well together. Annie goes in thinking she's going to have like basically a little sister, and she's like very pink and fluffy and like all things cute and perfect. And then you get Maeve, who is kind of like dark and gloomy and moody. It's kind of like putting Sharpay Evans from High School Musical without the meanness, with Wednesday Addams without the meanness, I guess. Like, Wednesday's not mean, she's just, yeah, Wednesday. Or basically Enid and Wednesday from the new TV series. That's basically what you've got with Maeve and Annie, and it's great. They get sent to this cabin in the woods to help Maeve train because she has a habit of setting fire to things, which is not great in the mortal world or in a bakery. So they go off to this little cabin, and it turns out that it belongs to a warlock who turns up and then has to deal with these two women bickering, crying, getting to know each other, and it's really, really cute and adorable. I did get a little bit annoyed with Hal and Maeve, because when Annie starts talking about going back to her life, they're very put out by it, and they want her to just give everything up and stay with them, which kind of frustrated me, because yes, I get that it was a nice little found family that they made, and they did work really well together, and it was super cute and adorable. However, Annie runs a bakery. She is a successful businesswoman that at this point in time, she had left her business in charge with some of her workers with the plan to be back, and they're kind of throwing this tantrum because she's like, I've got this job to go back to. It's not, they were focusing more that she wanted to go back to the high society, which is, and I am kind of like, but that's just one aspect. She's got this whole bakery, she's got this apprenticeship at the Hecate House, she's got different aspects that she needs to go back to, which you could still be part of, but you don't have to make her like move into a log cabin in the middle of nowhere and give up everything. So that frustrated me a little bit. The ending, the final few chapters, oh my god, it got so good. I wasn't expecting there to be as much action as there was in there, so it was pleasantly surprising, and the way it was handled was really, really good. And it's just really sweet. Like, I loved it to pieces. I think Annie's growth was the best. Sort of her I'm sorry if you can hear buttons squeaking at my door. Her just realizing that some of the people that she spends time with are not the people that she wants to spend time with. Reflecting on how like she puts everyone else first rather than herself, and then taking some time to sit and think about what she actually wants is really, really nice to stop her being a people pleaser. Maeve and Hal were really good for her in that sense, because they just made her think about herself more, and I think that is important to have, and it's important to see. Like, you get characters in these books that sometimes are presented as perfect, and then underneath it all, she's not perfect, and she knows that. She was using a spell to make herself perfect, and you finally see her realizing that actually is okay. She doesn't have to be, because she's got people in her life that love her for who she is. So it was really good slowly seeing her come to that conclusion and making that decision. And the big epic, I'm not going to spoil it, but the big epic that happens at the end of the book, oh my god, amazing. Wasn't expecting it. Almost happy, tearing up a little bit. But yeah, really, really highly recommend Uncharmed and Rewitched. Rewitched was probably my book of the year of September, like book of the month of September last year when that one came out. Uncharmed, 100% hands down. Nothing was going to compete with this. I actually found myself picking and choosing different books, because I was like, Uncharmed is going to be my book of the month. Like, hands down, knew it was going to be. I didn't want anything that I thought that I was also really excited for to come close and then have to be like, ooh, try and decide, because I knew it was going to be Uncharmed all the way. I really hope that she's going to do more cute witchy stories set in the same world, because it would be just, they're great. Like, cozy autumn, September rolls around, you get a cute and new witchy book from Lucy. Oh, it would be perfect. So fingers crossed. I hope we get that. So now we're down to 2 books. Yay! The next book that I read was The Second Death of Locke. It was a monthly Illumicrate book. Really enjoyed it. It was a little bit frustrating with Grey as the main character. She had this tendency to be self-sacrificing, but she wouldn't let anyone else do anything for her. So it was kind of a bit hypocritical that she'd get angry with people for trying to help her and sacrifice their needs for hers, but she would immediately be the first one to be like, I will just sacrifice everything. I'll almost kill myself for you. Whatever, I don't care. But we have basically got a world where you have mages and you have wells. Wells are, they can't really use magic, but they are a fountain of power, and so they tether with a mage to transfer their power to the mage so the mage can do better magic. And generally the Wells are combat fighters to protect their mage whilst they're casting. So Grey has dedicated her life to Keir, who is the mage. She's his bait, like she fights for him in the battlefield, heals him, protects him, and basically just gives all of her magic to him. She would like self-explode she would like detonate herself with her magic if he needed her to. They're then given a quest to go and get a child and take them to a different country, because they believe she is they believe she's the daughter of the kingdom that had sunk. The kingdom of Log had a surviving heir, and they believe this child is this heir. And they've been given a task to get her from point A to point B, and if they get it, they can honourably retire and never have to work in the army again. So they take a few of their friends with them and off they go. But what's really interesting is Grey is the heir. So she's like this whole time sitting there like, I know you're not the heir, but I can't tell you that you're not the heir, because then everyone else is going to be like, well, how would you know that? The only person that knows is Keir. And they get into various scenarios where they then figure out that this girl is not, and they figure out that Grey is. The party talk about it. They then decide that they're going to raise the Kingdom of Locke. So then the majority of the book is them trying to figure out how to do this, trying to build alliances, realizing that other nations are united against them, culminating in like a war at the end. It was really, really good. It was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. The book made it sound like you would be focusing pretty much the whole time on the quest from getting girl from point A to point B, but actually that was a very small part of the book to interlude that Grey is the heir, which, not spoilers because it's in the dust jacket blurb. Sorry for my hiccups. But yeah, it was well done, but Grey was a total hypocrite throughout the book, even right up until the end. She frustrates me a lot in some of the stuff that she does. She'll go to make, she's asked what she would sacrifice to raise the islander, when she says everything, anything. When they take the sacrifice from her, she's like, no, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that particular thing, having already said anything. And then she just makes a couple of questionable decisions at the end of the book that could cause a lot of strife, and did cause strife. But the characters that she did it to were far more understanding than I feel like she probably deserved at that point. But yeah, the one thing that stopped this from being another 5-star read for me was just the fact that she was so hypocritical about her self-sacrificing and not letting other people sacrifice anything for her, even just to help her or heal her or take care of her. She was just so self-destructive and just wasn't happy. Like, she'd try and heal people when she was on the brink of death herself, even though there's like another healer there. It was, those parts were kind of tough to read, and that's what took it down from a 5 to a 4-star for me. And then our final book was Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon. I was really looking forward to this because I loved Priory of the Orange Tree and Fallen, I can't remember the name of the second one, which was technically the prequel. This was surprising because when it turned up, I was expecting to be met with a behemoth on par with the first two. What I got was 300-ish pages of book. We lose 50 of that to glossaries and people of note, and like appendixes and stuff. So you actually only have about 250 pages worth of book. Not a problem. Like, I love all books. It was kind of nice because I think I read it within one day, and actually if it was any bigger then I probably wouldn't have got it on my September wrap up. It probably would have ended up being on October or maybe November. But I was sort of taken aback by how small it was considering the size of Shannon's previous works. That being said, I really, really enjoyed it. I love when we get little novellas that, because it's basically a novella. You get little novellas that kind of give you background and stuff. So in Priory of the Orange Tree, Iskar is a draconic kingdom. They worship the dragons. People can't go in. They've given up the saints. So it was really nice getting the background to see how that happened, like how Iskall fell from being the worshipper worshipping the saints and being part of the virtuedom to them being the draconic state that you see all throughout Priory of the Orange Tree. I love it when you have things like that. The characters were okay. I mean, as much as they can be for people that were side characters in the main story, to then be given life afterwards. It was interesting to see Morosa and Albrecht, to how they ended up from where they were in that book to like the positions that they were in at the start of Priory's Tree. So yeah, I love books like that, and I thought it was really good. It was 4 out of 5 just because it was kind of small. I suppose there wasn't really too much she could have done with it, but at certain parts of it, especially towards the end where it was kind of meeting up to where we start with these characters in Priory, felt kind of rushed. So it could have been 5-star. It's just certain parts of it felt a bit rushed for me. But yeah, it was interesting. I love things like that. I love it when you get more lore and stuff outside of the main books. Sometimes when you add stuff like that into a main book, it can just make it feel a bit more tedious. To have it as a novella separately works really well, I think. So I loved reading it. I thought it was really cool, just to see how Iskall became the draconic state. Pretty good. So all of the books that I read in September, I 100% would recommend, especially if you are a fan of the Priory Tree. It is designed that, so Among the Burning Flowers is designed to be read at any point. You can read it as the start, or you can read it between the second book, Flowers, and then Priory Tree, or you can read it in release order, which was Priory Tree, the second book, and then this one. So it's designed to be read at any point. I found it nicer as a fan of the series going back and reading it. And Study and Drown, A Theory of Dreaming. If you were a fan of Study and Drowning, I recommend it. I recommend A Study of Drowning anyway, because that was a good book. But all of these books I recommend. If you're only going to take one away from this, please let it be Uncharmed, because it was so good if you love cute and cozy fantasies. Yeah, that is my wrap up. I bought a ton of books this month. Like I said, another 12 on my list got added, but I'm not going to go through them because they'll probably hopefully be on next month's wrap up. Unless, like, comment below if you'd like me to talk about the books that I've bought during my month, or if you think that would be better as like a separate video, because I'm very aware that this is now pushing almost 45 minutes for a video, which is I think the longest I've ever recorded anything for. I'd love your feedback and what you think of these videos, whether you want to see more of them, or maybe you're sitting there thinking, oh my god, don't do this again, this was horrendous, just stick to unboxings. Let me know, I won't be offended. Any feedback you can give would be great. I am gonna hopefully get pictures of the books maybe up in this corner when I talk about them. Never really edited a video before, as you have probably been able to tell from my unboxings. So I'm going to give it a go. If you guys have enjoyed, please let me know, and let me know if you'd like to see more of these. And I will see you for the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.